In this video, I'm going to show you how to animate the red ball with the 26 on the top of it, and also to add two different effects to our project. So far, we have imported the objects that we needed, imported a little video and some audio, and then we had learned how to animate the B, the M, the C, and the C using aspects of the transform menu, a menu that appears in almost every graphics or animation program that you will ever use. Specifically, we use the position and the rotation properties in order to move the letters down into place. We had guidance from a set of layout lines that came in from Photoshop, and we'll use those again. But let me just say that so far that's what we should have here, the B, the M, the C, and the C. Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on, there it is again. You can see how the layers are stepping up and showing you kind of when they come into the composition. So very graphic on After Effects, how you can see that. But what we want to do next is we want to bring the red ball and the channel and the 26 letters or down into the timeline, and we're going to, I see here I'm still sort of showing how to do the animation on C1 and maybe C2, but I can skip forward if we have to here. So let's see, let me just bring this forward a little bit. Okay. And I just want to bring this a little bit forward here. Here I'm just sort of finishing off that last C. There was a little sort of wiggle at the end of that animation, and I think I'm showing that on the timeline with the two keyframes that are right here, right next to each other. And they're doing that little sort of tweet at the end. All right, so having finished that, now I want to animate the illusion of the red ball rolling into the frame. Actually, the red ball has a highlight on it, so I don't want to roll the red ball itself because that wouldn't look natural if the highlight, the light spot was turning around and around. But the 26 will turn and rotate into frame, and that will give the illusion that the ball is rolling also. So we're going to work with the two elements together. Also, for this animation, I will be setting the second keyframe first and the first keyframe second. And you'll see how that works when I begin to actually do it for you. For the next part of the animation, we will also be using the outside of the frame quite a bit, so I'm reminding you of where to change the frame size from 100% to 200% and so on with that nice orange arrow. So we're going to keep it at about 100%, which gives us room around the outside of the frame to operate until we don't need to do that anymore. So I've chosen the red ball, and I've chosen the 26. Both of these are going to come down to the timeline together. I'm putting them right above the layout lines. And you'll see that they're stacked on top of each other. Actually, the red ball is on top of the 26, but we can switch that around. While they're both selected, however, I'm going to take their position marker and I'm going to move the Y coordinate, change the Y coordinate a little bit to center them down in the circle a little bit more. And you'll see that when I do this to one of them, it actually creates the same effect in both of them because they are both chosen, and that's as close as you can get to sort of grouping things here in After Effects. So I'm going to act as if, here we go, let me just finish what I'm doing. I want to take there I'm going back down to 100%, as I said, get a little more room around the working frame. And then I'm going to, come on, select them again. Looks like I lost them. And choose inside. Come on. It's a little tricky here. I want to choose inside those dots that there we go. And now I'm pulling it out of the frame. And while I'm doing it, I'm holding the Shift key so that the horizontal pull will be perfect. It won't wiggle. And you'll see now, if you look back at your properties, that both of them have the same position and outside of the frame as they, and then when we bring them back in, they will come back in together again also. So what we're doing is we're moving the time marker about 2 seconds. We started at about 5:05, and I think at about 7:05, we're now at almost 8:05. So I might want to put those keyframes in. Now I'm moving it back a little bit just to make it a little bit closer to the end of the last animation. And now I'm going to go inside the two of them again. You should be careful when you do this, incidentally, not to click on that anchor point that's in the middle of the graphic, but rather to click on any place inside the rectangles that is not the anchor point. It causes a lot of problems. So I'm going to take the click, there it is, and I'm going to pull it back inside the graphic. Okay, now we'll see if we can kind of get that centered on the ball that's inside, that's the layout lines there, but it doesn't have to be perfect. They're both selected, and so you can use the little arrow keys on your keyboard if you'd like to just nudge them a little bit, sideways, up, down, whatever. And I'm now going to move the 26 to be in front of the red ball. You can see that I still have them both selected, so they're moving together when I try to do this. So you have to just deselect by touching someplace else, and then I'll just take red ball and put red ball down below 26. There it goes. And when I do that, the 26 is now on top, which is just about right. And the next thing I want to do, oops, it kind of disappeared. There we go. I'm looking for one of the spherize effects, and I think there's 4 or 5 different places where slightly different iterations of the same thing occur. I think I'm going to not use this generate series here, but rather I'm going to look for probably stylize. Let's see if under stylize I can get a nice one. You don't want it to be too severe. Just give it a little bit of a, let's see, there's a stylize there. I don't see sphere eyes on it. Maybe it's the one that I like is under simulation. I have to try that. Let's see. There's a sphere eyes. Maybe that's it. Distort sphere eyes. That's the one. It's down towards the bottom. It doesn't make a very strong effect, but it works well for this project. Come on. There we go. And that opens up a little menu for doing this. I make the radius about 18 or 17 or 18, and I make the center just, I think, a little bit more on the Y coordinate, but it's not too bad just the way it is there. You can see it just distorts it a little bit. Having done that, here you'll see the red ball and the 26 moving in together. It's only the 26 that's rotating. Those two together again, and I'm going to probably move them down a little bit. Just get that. I can do it interactively by just pulling them down a little bit. And I think what I'm setting up here is to do the twirl, that we want these to rotate into place and look as if they rolled in from outside. So for that, just the transform menu on the 26. And we're going to say there's the first position. There. Red ball also will have the first position. It's already clicked. And then when we bring it in to, let's see, about 7 seconds is where this animation ends. So I'm going to change it to 7 seconds. And that's where I want to bring these two into frame. Again, if you can hold down the shift key while you drag them, you get a perfect drag. And it's hard though when you have two things selected. I keep losing the second selection. Come on. There's dragging that one in. Okay, good. Looks like I'm going to do this in 2 parts. I usually do it together. So now we want to drag back to 100%. And I want the TV to be where we started, which is right here below this line here. And then I'm going to go add to it this effect. The effect is called Basic 3D. And on the first frame here, we're going to have on these keyframes that if the amount of tilt is 0. But when we go to the second set of keyframes, the amount of tilt will have been 2 times. So you'll see that what happens is that as the TV comes down along the motion path, it's also doing this tilting. It's tilting and falling twice, and then it finds its way down here. Now I made these little extra keyframes down here just to give it a little push at the end so it appears like it sort of kicks the 26 up. And that's really the end of the animation, is right there. See the little kick? But this is adding the effect of Basic 3D. The other effect I can put on here, on this layer, is the effect of drop shadow. And that comes from perspective, believe it or not. And you can see there's a drop shadow here. That, when I open it up, gives you the chance to, again, I'm going to navigate back to my first set of keyframes here. It gives you, and I'll move down so you can see it, it gives you a chance to change how dense the shadow is. I'm going to say at the beginning it's not very dense, only 50%. I'll accept the direction, but the distance here, I'm going to make this a little further away from the original object so it looks a little spookier, and a little softness. like that. And then I'm going to go to the second set of keyframes here. And I'm going to say when I'm at that set of keyframes, wait a minute, I did this, but I didn't actually click it. 50%. Distance, I made it 15. Softness, I made it 8. Okay, so now at the second set of keyframes, I'm going to look at those same properties. I'm going to make the opacity more, so it's a little bit tougher looking, and I'm going to make the distance less, so it's more like only 4 or 5 pixels, maybe, something like that. And I'm going to make the softness less also, so it's maybe only 1 or 2 pixels. And what you'll see is that the shadow changes as it progresses down the frame, and again, it gives it a nice 3D effect. The shadow being large and away from the TV, and then it pulls closer and closer to the TV until finally it's kind of tight to it. Alright, that's the end of the animation. The only thing left to do here is to find the layer that has the layout lines on it and delete it from your timeline window, or you can just turn the eyeball off and it won't record while you process your movie and render it.